Week 17 is the only one that matters in fantasy football. I want to win it all, and I want you to win it all. So once again, I've gathered the best stats from every Week 17 game. Advanced stats that NFL teams actually use from sites like Football Outsiders, PFF, and Sports Info Solutions to help you make the best decisions for whatever you need in Week 17. We'll go in order of the games, starting with Cowboys-Titans on Thursday Night Football. And based on the 10-point spread favoring Dallas on the road, people looking for Derrick Henry to play in a game that doesn't matter for the Titans may be screwed. Dallas will have to throw against Tennessee either way. Titans D's 3.5 adjusted line yards per play allowed and league low 34% rushing success rate are two of the best marks in the league. While the Titans remain among the league worst versus deep passes with a .82 estimated points added per play and a 15.4% TD rate. So it could be a boom bust day for Dallas's receivers. If Derrick Henry sits to rest up for a Week 18 win in your A game versus Jacksonville, Hassan Haskins might be a better one-to-one replacement than people realize. Henry has a 19.7% missed tackle rate and 3.7 yards after contact on the year, while the rookie Haskins has an 18.2% avoided tackle rate and 3.3 yards after contact. Dallas has been good versus the run with a negative .117 EPA per play and a negative 15% DVOA on the year. But for a rookie replacement for one of the top backs of our generation, you could do worse. On to Sunday, we have the highest Vegas total of the week with Chicago at Detroit. And if you need Justin Fields to go off, this could be your day. The Lions allow a league worst 39.9 yards per drive, and their .117 EPA per play is also one of the worst marks in the league. And if you get into their red zone, they allow touchdowns at a high 65% rate. I'm personally rooting for Cole Kmet this weekend, but if you have to play any Bear, it could be a ceiling day for them. Meanwhile, Vegas' 29-point implied total for Detroit is their highest of the year. And Chicago is somehow just as bad as the Lions D. The Bears are second worst in the league, allowing 36.5 yards per drive. And Chicago gives up a bottom of the league .178 EPA per drop back. They also give up a bad 7.6 yards per attempt on throws under 20 yards. Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown should get whatever they want, with St. Brown over 10 targets in 4 out of his last 5 games. New Orleans has nothing to compete with the Eagles in a game where an Eagles win clinches a bye for them. The Eagles' D's negative .082 EPA per drop back is one of the best in the league, and they get pressure at a top of the league 24.4% rate. Maybe some Alvin Kamara checkdowns could open up, but I would not have faith in any Saints, especially if Chris Olave misses again with his hamstring issues. Jalen Hurts' status is obviously most important for Philly, but it's a good matchup for A.J. Brown either way versus New Orleans. Saints play man on a high 38% of dropbacks, while A.J. Brown annihilates man coverage with a 30% target rate and 3.8 yards per route run. I'd also expect more Kenneth Gainwell if Minshew starts, but less of a need for him with Hurts' mobility if he's the one that goes. Denver filed Nathaniel Hackett, and it's possible that gives some life to an ailing Broncos team. The Chiefs' D won't make it easy with their 24% pressure rate, but their 30% man defense rate will be interesting for Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy has slayed man this year with 23 yards per catch and 4.8 yards per route run. The Chiefs' D gives up 80% of their touchdowns through the air, so Jeudy is capable of a ceiling day if the Broncos O has any life left. Jerick McKinnon shredded a tough Broncos D the last time these two teams played in Week 14, but the Broncos remain one of the best defenses of 2022. Their 45% red zone TD rate allowed is tops in the league. Same for a low 42.2% drop back success rate allowed, and their 28.3 yards per drive allowed is third best in the league. These things never really apply to Mahomes and the Chiefs, who can throw on anyone. But there certainly is the possibility the Broncos get some juice back after their embarrassment versus the Rams. Cleveland and Washington is a game that likely won't matter much at this point, as evidenced by Carson Wentz starting. It's not a great match for Cleveland. Washington's D giving up a low 41% success rate per play on the year. They have some weaknesses versus throws 20-plus yards with a bad 14.7 yards per attempt and a .18 EPA on those plays. Deshaun Watson has a negative 1.2 EPA on deep throws this year, so your mileage may vary. Cleveland's D has struggled mightily versus the run this year, so it could be good times for Brian Robinson. Browns D's .074 EPA per rush and 4.9 adjusted line yards allowed will give Robinson some of the most room he's had this year. He's been below league average with a negative 9% rushing DVOA. 22 carries in week 16 could pay off if the Commanders can grab a lead. The Panthers can greatly help their 30% playoff odds with a win over Tampa Bay. But Tampa Bay will present a big challenge for an overperforming Sam Darnold. The Bucs gave up 27.8 yards per drive, second best in the league. They also forced a league-high 48% punt rate and a 29% three-and-out rate, with them also playing zone at a high 59% rate. Sam Darnold will have to be accurate and efficient for the Panthers to steal a win. On the other side, this feels like another check-down extravaganza for a washed Tom Brady. Panthers blitz at a high 30% rate, though they struggle to get pressure at a 20% rate. This could open up shots downfield for Mike Evans. More likely, it means more checkdowns for Lenny Fournette and Rachaad White, and perhaps some broken tablets on the sideline when Tom Brady gets sacked again and again. In Colts-Giants, it could be a similar bloodbath for Nick Foles. He saw pressure at a 47% rate on Monday night versus an improving Chargers D. The Giants blitz at a league-high 40% rate while they get pressure 25% of the time. Foles loves his arm a little more than he should at this stage of the game. So picks and sack fumbles are in play for a Giants D on the cusp of a playoff spot. With that in mind, the game script should favor Saquon Barkley. He's had 24 or more intended touches in his last 2 games, but it's a fairly tough matchup with the Colts at a negative 0.09 EPA versus the run this year. Barkley's been league average in every key stat this year besides his elite volume. It's gotten him to good games recently, and it likely gives him a good floor and a solid ceiling here. Arizona-Atlanta's a game without much real-life importance. Fantasy-wise, James Conner could pay off no matter who's at QB. The Falcons' 47% rush success rate allowed is one of the worst marks in the league, and Conner's been rock solid with over 18 intended touches per game along with a shockingly high 26 routes run per game. You can also take a shot on DeAndre Hopkins with the Falcons running zone on 60% of dropbacks. Well, Hopkins is targeted 27% of the time versus zone with 2.2 yards per route run, but it's easier to trust the running back with either Colt McCoy or Trace McSorley at QB. The Cardinals create a lot of pressure at a 23% rate, so it could be tough times for Desmond Ridder, though his mobility means he could take advantage of their high 51% dropback success rate. As one of Tyler Allgeier's earliest supporters, I also need to point out how good he's been. The rookie has a 25% avoided tackle rate and 3.5 yards after contact per rush. Both marks are better than highly regarded guys like Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette, Miles Sanders, and countless others. If the Falcons are good in coming years, you could see big numbers from the rookie Allgeier. Miami will be without Tua this week at New England after his second concussion protocol stint, but honestly, it would be bad if he played too. New England's negative 0.097 EPA per play is second best in the league, and their 25% pressure rate is among the highest as well. Same for their low 42.4% dropback success rate allowed. Now, they are 26th in the league versus wide receiver twos with an 18% boost to the position, as we saw with T. Higgins last week. So maybe Jalen Waddle could squeeze out one more good game. It's just hard to bank on, especially with Teddy Bridgewater now expected to start. Miami defensively is worse versus the pass than the run. Ramondre Stevenson could get there just with checkdowns. The Dolphins give up a high 0.17 EPA on throws under 20 yards, but just 4.7 intended air yards per target on those plays. They also give up 5.2 points and a 61% touchdown rate on red zone visits. So I'd start Ramondre with confidence, especially in full point PPR. Jacksonville is expected to try fully at Houston, with them having some low probability ways to make the playoffs, even if they blow week 18 versus Tennessee. And people will flock to Travis Etienne with this supposedly bad Houston run defense. But the Texans' real weakness is on short throws. They give up 7.7 yards per attempt on throws under 20 yards and a 71% completion rate on those plays. They're also 22nd versus tight ends according to DVOA. If Evan Ingram has bailed you out over the last month, you may get one more usable game from him, as well as a lot of leverage on the people who are going to lock in Etienne. Houston would be able to attack Jacksonville through the air if they were a good team. Jacksonville gives up a 0.09 EPA per drop back and one of the worst passing DVOAs with a 23% boost on throws. They're also 27th versus wide receiver ones with a 13.5% DVOA boost to the position. Maybe Brandon Cooks with this inexplicable return can have one more good game. San Francisco heads to Las Vegas, and they really should roll here. Brock Purdy's been shockingly good with a 13.7% DVOA, while Vegas gives up 0.142 EPA per drop back and a 49.3% success rate. They do limit the run well with a negative 0.122 EPA per per rush. There are massive projections floating around for Christian McCaffrey across the industry, but I would favor the Niners pass catchers with a guy like George Kittle beating a top 3 tight end matchup last week. As for Vegas, they have nothing to like offensively versus the Niners D. San Francisco is now number 1 with a negative .113 EPA per play. They also force 3 and outs at a top of the league 30% rate. They're also number 1 with only 27.7 yards per drive allowed, and they are also number 1 where opponents start drives at a 25.6 line of scrimmage. It's only a 6-point spread, but the Niners could win 40-3 here, and it would not be a shocker. We're on to our final 5 games, so now seems like a good time to ask you to like this video and subscribe to Splash Play. We've got new videos daily, and we'll cover playoff best ball DFS and 2023 best ball pretty much the second the season ends. And everything we do here will make you smarter about how to actually win at fantasy football. And leave a comment down below too. I always reply. The Jets head to Seattle with Mike White back to save them from Zach Wilson's tyranny. White should find some easy throws with Seattle giving up a .16 EPA on throws under 20 yards compared to a negative .1 EPA and low 29% completion rate on throws over 20 yards. They also allow 4.7 adjusted line yards per rush with a low 15% stuff run rate. Bam Knight is hard to trust at this point, but he could get back on track if the game script allows him to play over Michael Carter. Geno Smith has been a deep ball machine this year with a .8 EPA on throws of 20 plus yards. The Jets will ruin that for him with their league best negative .52 EPA on those plays, as well as a 28% pass deflection rate that could result in some INTs. It should be a competitive game with 2 scrappy teams fighting for the playoffs, but there's a lot easier pathway for Jets success than the Seahawks. Minnesota's a shocking 3.5 point underdog at Green Bay. Green Bay is worse versus the run and the pass with a high 47% success rate allowed on runs compared to a low 44% success rate on dropbacks. Green Bay also allows a bottom of the league 5.2 adjusted line yards per rush and 12% stuffed run rate. Now, you don't fade Justin Jefferson with him on the cusp of a 2,000-yard receiving year, but Dalvin Cook could make this more of a middling game for Jefferson and TJ Hockenson in their recent ceiling efforts. Minnesota really can't get teams off the field to the bottom of the league, 31% punt rate forced and an even worse 14% 3 and out rate. They also allow QBs to dink and dunk with a 73% completion rate on throws under 20 yards and a .12 EPA on those plays. Aaron Rodgers could have a ceiling day here, even if it's just feeding running backs at intermediate routes. People may want to play the Rams after their Week 16 explosion, but it's a bad spot versus the Chargers. The Chargers allow a low 44% dropback success rate, and they blitz at a 29% rate that could leave Tyler Higbee in the block more than you'd like to see if he got you to your title game. Believe in the Rams if you want or if you need to, but the Chargers D is hitting their stride in a way that Justin Herbert is not. This is another good matchup for Herbert, though, even if he busts again. The Rams now give up a high 49% dropback success rate, a .14 EPA on throws under 20 yards, plus a .52 EPA on throws over 20 yards. They also generate no pressure with a low 17.5% rate. Herbert should get cozy pockets to take advantage of a Rams D that's now 30th versus wide receiver 1s and wide receiver 2s according to DVOA. Pittsburgh heads to Baltimore on a Sunday night football snoozer. Baltimore's .98 EPA versus throws over 20 yards is now the worst mark in the league. They also give up a 60% completion rate on those plays. As a rookie, Kenny Pickett finds ways to underperform in pretty much every spot. But for a showdown slate, there's some merit to playing a pass game explosion on a slate where people will be loading up on defenses and kickers. The low 36-point over-under makes it seem like Lamar Jackson will sit again, with the Ravens having fully locked up a playoff spot. And Pittsburgh is league average in every statistic other than their high 32% blitz rate. Meanwhile, Tyler Huntley has shown nothing but mediocrity so far this year. I wouldn't expect ceiling games from anyone here unless Kenny Pickett somehow goes nuts getting the ball downfield. Monday Night Football is the main event of the week with Buffalo at Cincinnati. The weather looks like it'll be 55 degrees that day, which is probably as important as any stat I'll say here. Data-wise, we have 2 teams who can throw on anyone and 2 defenses that are probably better than people even realize. Cincinnati allows pass attempts of 20-plus yards at a 7.5% rate, one of the highest in the league. They've held opponents to a negative .07 EPA, but obviously they don't face Josh Allen every week. Cincinnati is also 31st versus wide receiver 2s, with a 29% boost in the position. So theoretically, this could be the Gabe Davis explosion week that we've only seen like once this year. Joe Burrow will have to earn it versus a Buffalo team with a negative .045 EPA per play and a negative 9% defensive DVOA overall. Buffalo does allow a .33 EPA on throws of 20-plus yards and a high 10% touchdown rate on those plays, but they've meaningfully improved at defending wide receiver 1 since Tre'Davious White returned. If Burrow can survive the Bills' lofty 23% pressure rate, he'll find ways to get the ball to his guys. But this will be a tough match for both QBs where we'll all hope that their talent wins out. There we go. It's everything I see so far for Week 17's games. So please like this video and subscribe to Splash Play. You have new videos daily and the fun will continue throughout the playoffs. So follow me at Chris Spags and follow this show at Splash Play Pod. If you're competing for a big prize in best ball, redraft, or even DFS, I hope it all goes as well for you as it possibly can with the work that we've put in this season. So good luck. This is probably about as hoarse as I've ever been, so thank you guys for tolerating it and getting through this video. And of course, if you missed yesterday's video, check the link in the pinned comments down below. If I somehow win BBM3 or DraftKings Best Ball Millie Maker, I'm going to be giving away some cool prizes as my thank you to you guys for riding with me here, and the hopes to keep you from the competitors who frankly kind of suck sometimes.